Alright, so I'm here to talk about my MAME cabinet, which I actually installed in a Die Hard cabinet. So this was a Die Hard machine I picked up at the auction for, I think it was like 40 or 50 bucks. The CRT was bad. I ended up pulling it out and doing a VGA monitor in the slot. And since then, I have installed a Raspberry Pi. And I'll show you how all that looks. We have a Raspberry Pi in here, and as you can see, it's running HDMI going up to this monitor here. We have speakers going to the inside of the cabinet, and I've actually modified the controls here. I've disconnected the Die Hard Jamma board partially. I could still easily put it back and get the Jamma going again. But I've actually wired in one of these USB joystick controller boards, if you can see that. And it's actually right here. And that's hooked up to the Die Hard controls. In addition to that, I also have a joystick plugged in and a USB keyboard. So those are right here. There is the Super NES Japanese Special and a keyboard so I can control the other functions of Raspberry Pi. So I have start and select keyed as coin in is select. Start is the start button on the Die Hard controls. So I'm going to hit start and drop a coin. And that'll get me back into the MAME menu. If you see here, you can already hear it kind of going. Back is kick. Now, I don't have all the button functionality on the actual control panel here. I'll have to either modify a panel for that and add more buttons, or possibly build a MAME cabinet specifically for this ROM. I forget whose MAME ROM this is, but we can go to that's right, RetroPie. So here's the RetroPie configuration. Going in here, you can see we've got controls for audio, Bluetooth, configuration, ES file manager, Raspberry Pi config, etc., 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 etc. I'll get out of here. You can see I've got PlayStation, which there's only one game in here. There's a Neo Geo Pocket. There is the non-color version, Nintendo. So we have NES. And you can see there's just all sorts of great game options here. In the NES menu, well, does it tell me? I think it tells me somewhere how many games are in here. But you can see some of the old school favorites. Vice, Urban Champion, Basketball. Top Gun, Tom and Jerry, Tiny Toons. I mean, if you're an old school gamer like me, you're gonna appreciate seeing a lot of these games back. I haven't played all of these yet. I do need to kind of work on the configuration as far as the controls. I don't have that dialed in yet. So some of them I have to start on one of the controllers and move to another one. I'm going to have to get into the main menus and try to set everything so it works properly. But you can see, I mean, there's Mario Brothers, there's Paperboy, there's all sorts of the OG games that we all kind of grew up on. Tennis, Ninja Turtles. So I mean, that's just a little preview. Here, Superman, Super Mario 1, 2, 3 with Duck Hunt. Duck Hunt won't really play very well because obviously we don't have the gun, and Duck Hunt also kind of relied on the CRT functionality, which we don't have anymore, but it is there. Let me go back, take a look. We've got Neo Geo, we've got Master System, which is an old Sega. I believe that was only available in Japan. Sega Genesis, you'll see old school favorites. Animaniacs, And most of these games here I've played, I mean, and they work. I mean, aside from figuring out the learning curve on the controls, which are not obviously a Sega controller, I mean, they work just as they should, and it's kind of nostalgic to be able to get back in here and play a lot of these games. Some of my favorites were, well, let's see if we can get down to them. Sonic the Hedgehog would be one of the big ones. And there is a search function. I could actually go in here and search by name. Let me see, we're almost there. But, I mean, Street Fighters are in some of these, Mortal Kombat, there's Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic's 3D Blast, Sonic's Pinball, Sonic the Original the Hedgehog, Sonic 3, and there's a Sonic 2 somewhere in here. I'm probably already past it. But, well, we'll get out of here. I'll show you. We've got Game Boy Color. I never had a Game Boy Color. I have the OG original green screen one. So I'm not too familiar with these games, but I'm sure some of the younger than me generation would be familiar with them. Super Mario Deluxe, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy. And you can actually play these Game Boy games, and they come up in green screen. I mean, it's pretty freaking cool. It looks like it's in the S's. Yeah, I remember that game. 7-Up Spot. I mean, Tetris is here. Oh, wow, I used to have this game. Super Chase HQ. It was a hard game, but it was a lot of fun to play. There's Super Mario Land 2. Super Off-Road. Yeah, there's our Tetris. I didn't even know there was a Tetris 2. There's the OG Tetris that pretty much if you had a Super Nintendo or a Game Boy, it came with this game. So I'm sure you're all familiar with that. We have Famicom. We have Atari 7800. We have Atari 2600. We have Arcade, which is actually kind of where I like to mess around with. As you can see here, Simpsons is on here. A lot of the original favorites are here. So we'll go into the arcade menu. Galaga is a good one. Here's Galaga 88, Galaxian. What else do we have? There is Pac-Man. Here's Frogger. A lot of the awesome old school games are here. A lot of games that I've also never heard of. There's a lot from the Japanese domestic market that I've never come across, and I'll have to get into this more and spend some more time and kind of get into the Japanese games and see how they play. There's Gyrus. But why don't we play a little Galaga? I'll show you how it all works. Galaga is a pretty simple game as far as the controls. You only go side to side and shoot. So here's Galaga. Go ahead and select that. And we're loading. And if you ever had an old arcade cabinet, they actually did this, which is kind of the cool thing. These are the actual ROM files from the arcade cabinets. I mean, and this would be how an arcade actually loaded up, which is pretty freaking cool. I'm going to go ahead and coin in, which there's a key that I set for that. And as you can see, my credits will start going up. Alright. So, if that stops, there you go. We've got 14 credits on board, and we'll go ahead and start a game. Oop, wrong button. Oh, it got me. Alright, let's clear this level real quick. No! Walked right into that one. Last guy. Alright. So, this whole MAME thing is actually pretty cool, and I got into this through a neighbor. We were going out and buying arcade machines at the auction and fixing them and getting them going again. Well, he discovered that all the ROMs are out there and available to be downloaded. That's kind of how we got into the Raspberry Pi, and whoa, started getting that going. No. I lost a lot of those guys. And once we got the Raspberry Pi working, we got the RetroPie installed, and I mean, it's been great. The UI is awesome on it. Everything seems to work pretty much as it should. We've got a little bit of a learning curve as far as getting controls set. And once we kind of blow through that, we'll have a better idea and understanding of how to make it work more towards our actual installed our configuration. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, especially if you're into nostalgic games and if you're from the age demographic where, I mean, these were the games you played growing up. I mean, it's just cool to be able to get back into these and play them again. Oh, no. Oh, I died. Normally that's a good thing if you have extra fighters, which I don't have. So, there we go. I was so close to getting an extra fighter. You get a new guy at 20,000. I had 19,940. 60 more, I could have had a new guy. But that's just a quick demo anyways. We'll kind of let this be. If you're into Raspberry Pi, if you're into doing MAMing, definitely like and subscribe. I plan on doing some more videos. I'll show you guys some more of the functions as I kind of get more into this. We've also got a couple arcade machines, or pinball machines that we're working on here. So we'll get into restoration and modification of these coming up in a little while. But appreciate you hanging in with me. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe.